All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, Brian McGill here with Sydney and the lovely Barbara Bishop. Barbara, would you like to say hello?
Hi everyone, I'm currently sitting in Valdosta, Georgia.
Hey y'all, I'm here, Brian McGill with Sydney. I live in the Charlotte area. I'm working through a co-working space called Huga. It's a Dutch name. It's a really exciting place where innovative technology companies get together, and we're really excited to talk to you all today about some of the innovative things Barbara Bishop has been running in her regional service center. Just to kind of break the ice a little bit, I'd like to see everybody practice typing into the chat with your name and maybe where you're coming in from, and maybe what your interest is in this talk. And while you're doing that, I'm going to let our discussion moderator, TJ Hoffman, also our Director of Customer Success at SIBME, kind of go over some of the guidelines of our talk today. Go ahead, TJ.
Thanks, Brian. Y'all are not able to see me, but I hope that everybody's able to hear me. I'm trying to minimize the amount of internet that we're using by not using my video. But anyway, my name is TJ Hoffman. I'm the Director of Customer Success, and I'm excited to participate in this conversation with everyone. We do really want this to be a very informal conversation. We want you to have the opportunity to ask questions of Barbara and of Brian if you have any more specific technical questions about the platform. But this is really meant to be a conversation about how to use video for candidate development and for supporting teachers and teacher candidates from regional service centers. So if you have questions, you have two options. Your first option is to just type your question into the chat, and then I'll be sure to share that question with Barbara and she can answer it that way. Or if you would rather just ask the question verbally, you can raise your hand if you click on the participant tab, you'll be able to see raise my hand. I think there's actually even a button for you to raise your hand. And if you do that, then I will add you to our panel, so you'll be able to be visible and audible by everyone else, and then you can just ask your question that way. So if you'd rather sort of just type it into the chat, that's the easiest way, but we also want to see and hear from everyone as well. So if you're willing to join us that way, just raise your hand and I will move you on to the panel.
Right. Well, I'm really excited. We have a lot of people joining in. We did some exciting work this school year, Barbara. We've had a lot of fun, Barbara. What do you think? We had a lot of fun working together this year.
Yeah, and it was fun. The teachers were a little nervous, of course, about video coaching, but they ended up really enjoying it, and we did too.
Mm-hmm. So I think we're just going to kind of get into it now. What got you to begin exploring the use of video at your service center with your teachers? Go ahead.
Well, really, it was two things. One is that we have a number of endorsement programs, and of course we're using data to try to figure out how to better improve our services to those TAP candidates who are trying to become teachers, as well as for our reading teachers who are trying to get reading endorsed, or our teachers who are trying to get their gifted endorsement. So all of these three endorsements that we had, we were using data, but we were using it a little bit separately. And when we had our review from the Georgia Professional Standards Commission, they suggested that we figure out a way to have those three endorsements talk to one another. And so we sort of aligned some of the things that were in common, like their dispositions and some of their standards. And then we needed a tool by which we could pull some data. And so we also knew that it's 2018 and we should be doing some video work. So that's how we got started. Got it.
So once you right after you got started, how did you, what ways did you use video at that point then?
Well, I'm excited to tell you how we used it. Let me begin with this disclaimer. I am only an expert in having started something new and learning a few things from it. So we're just like any of y'all. We knew we needed to dip our toe into the water of video coaching. We weren't quite sure how to do it. So the first thing we did is we grabbed just a small number of folks from our own staff. We started with just 3 of us, and we started with some small goals. So each of us had, I think, 7 candidates, and we were working with those candidates to try to sort of embed their usual observations that they would do as part of their endorsement work and sort of merge that eventually with video coaching. And in some areas, we were able to do that immediately, like with our Georgia TAP candidates. And in mathematics, we opted to do it a little bit differently. We had a Rigor Redefined series, and the teachers went to 4 professional learning sessions, and then between the 4th and the 5th one, they were to make a video and post it, and then folks commented on it. So we've used it as a culminating sort of project. And we've also used it as the tool that we're using in our pilot to observe our teachers according to the standards that they are working with in their particular endorsement.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear. And we see, starting small and just kind of walking our way through it, baby steps. I think, that's a great, that's a great way to do that. And then growing out. So that was perfect, Barb. And then once you got into that, what did you discover along the way?
Well, I don't want to be too formal, but I did want to organize my thoughts. So I grabbed a few slides that we used, I guess, last month at the National Alternative Certification Conference, where we spoke about our trial with Sydney and video coaching. So I just want to share a couple of those slides so it'll help me remember exactly what we did. So just if anybody's interested, we put all the materials here on this website, and at the end I'll show it again in case anybody wants to see. But we knew that we couldn't just jump in without having some sort of expert backing, so we used this book by Jim Knight, The Focus on Teaching Using Video for High Impact Instruction. And that really was so helpful. It gave us sort of a foundation for thinking about video and trying to figure out how we would use it. And of course, I want everybody to get this book and read it because it's great. But the 3-second version is, he says, video is personal. It's very personal. And you have to understand how personal it is and let that be okay, particularly in the beginning. And that's what we found as well, is that, initially, all of us, just human nature, we want to talk about our hair or or we can't believe that we didn't notice something, or, oh my gosh, my accent is so Southern. We wanted to talk about all the personal things. And even though that might seem like, sort of trite and unimportant, Jim Knight says you got to let that stuff get out of the way before you can do anything a little bit more significant with it. And then we had a question we wanted to answer. And here's our question we wanted to answer. We wanted to know if the teachers could learn a lot from video coaching without a fancy framework, like here's your Danielson framework or here's your Georgia standards, or, we just wanted to see what could they learn by themselves. And then compare that a little bit to, okay, so now what could they also learn when we tagged videos and they also tagged videos according to their framework. It was really interesting to find that there was a little bit of a difference between what they found and what we didn't. My internet is telling me that it's being bad, so I'm going to close my video. I've learned that as a trick. If I'm still on video, tell me. Okay, so we also learned that it's important how you phrase the question. Whenever we asked a candidate, what did you learn? They went into the mode of telling us what they thought we wanted to hear. But when we asked, what did you notice? Then they felt, I guess, more free to just find out some things, make some comments about themselves and about their teaching. And so that's one thing that we really learned.
Okay.
We learned that the teachers valued the experience. Here's one of our teachers sharing that he never would have noticed some things about himself had he not watched himself on video. And that was the overall feeling from the teachers, even though it was sometimes hard to swallow what they were learning, just as it would be for any of us to watch back our performance recorded in some way.
Right.
But, so we used these pilot teachers, and we gathered a bunch of data. And here's what's probably more interesting to any of us is that here's some of our findings. We went through all the comments that coaches had made and all the comments that candidates had made, and we organized them by patterns. We just tried to figure out if there were any emerging patterns, and these are the ones we came up with. That there were times when a comment was, "Ooh, I could have done this," it was like a missed opportunity. And then if you look down at the fourth one here, that same idea, but very strongly, would sometimes come out with the, with the should. Oh, I should have done this differently. So we counted those as a little bit different. There were a lot of questions that the coaches posed that, of course, the candidates would not have. And this is one of our West Georgia RESA favorites for asking a candidate what would have been gained by, in other words, if you had done this a particularly different way, what would you have gained from it? And we find that that's an easy into asking them to reconsider something, because then their answer back is going to be a positive. And so that worked well for us. We noticed that, like all of us, sometimes we just make mistakes. And so in 3 of the videos, we actually had a teacher accidentally, write something on the board and spell it wrong, or say something incorrectly with vocabulary. And it was interesting to us that we were able to see that, but the candidates did not pick up on those mistakes. And I attribute that to the fact that we were early in the pilot, and that, just as Jim Knight says, you're not going to really let go of really focusing on yourself and yourself as like a person body for a while before you investigate going into something else.
Right.
But here are all the comments here are the number of comments that we gathered, rather, and you can see there are so many fewer of them for the candidates. That's one other thing that we learned, is that when we brought the candidates in for a conversation about their video, they had lots to say, lots of good thinking and reflection. When we asked them to tag the video, they got a little bit nervous. I think they were afraid maybe they would be wrong, quote unquote. Like, I don't know if it's really at this moment, 1 minute and 10 seconds, that really shows this. So they were a little hesitant. But I think with some more time, they also would have become more adept at that. We began by having them look at some videos of us and other teachers, so they got used to the tool and how the tool could show some things before we asked them to ever, videotape themselves. And we weren't fancy; we just used phones and the Sydney app, and it was really, really good.
Mm-hmm. So, would you say that how easy was using, essentially making this study for your program, when you were able to find the right tool to, essentially to execute this work? Because there are a lot of ways to capture video and do things. So would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, just like all of us, we had a year prior to this where we had as a goal on our strategic plan to do some video coaching, and it just really bombed. It did not work. And we learned some things from that. We learned that the tool that we had chosen wasn't quite elegant enough, that it was just a couple of extra steps that were driving some folks just bananas. Also, we ourselves were trying to learn and monitor implementation at the same time, which in retrospect seems very stupid. So we realized that we needed to have several months where we just learned how to use the tool ourselves. And it didn't take long for us to get, really comfortable with making different huddles and thinking about who should see this video and what would this video be used for in the future. And long story short, we now have a way that starting this next school year, we can be able to answer a really important question. For example, when it comes to disposition number 4, are our reading endorsement candidates doing better than our math candidates? Are our Georgia TAP candidates doing as well as our gifted candidates? And so we finally have a way that we can pull some data comparatively across our endorsements. And that's something that could really never have happened because we were all keeping data in different ways and also on different things.
Got it. So right now, I'm going to open up the floor to some of our attendees to ask questions in the chat and give you an opportunity to kind of pick your brain about your experience and maybe what they might consider wherever they are in the process of considering video for their campus or their service center or their programs, right? I bet Janelle Johnson probably has a great question for us. I'm sorry, Janelle, I'm going to pick on you, but that's what I do here. So you'll learn here real quick. Anyways, I'm going to give everybody the opportunity an opportunity to ask a question to Barbara, and we're going to open up the floor at this time. One thing I noticed on video is that I'm also a pen clicker. I noticed that when I get a little nervous, but I think that's something that might carry over to other people. And I just want to say how proud of you in your program, Barb, because I think that you guys followed a really great model by starting small. Doing a thoughtful training and then doing a thoughtful pilot. That's when we see programs like yours take that much thought. We see them have a lot of success and be able to make decisions with a lot more confidence. So Teresa has a question for us. 2 things. Can you put up the
tiny URL?
Tiny URL. And are you able to do live chat with SIBME? So I'll have you put up the tiny URL, but Barbara, Barbara, would it be all right if I answered this question?
Oh yeah, please do.
So we have live chat on SIBME? Well, I can tell you that there is not a live feature that was enabled with SIBME this year. However, we will have live video for next year for a teacher to begin a live recording, and maybe there are interested parties in different buildings in the district. So maybe there's a live observation that everybody would like to see. And then they'll be able to have an annotated conversation about the observation while that is going. So there are a few programs that we're really interested in that, and I believe that we are scheduled for release for the 2018-2019 school year, unless TJ has TJ has any updates on that. But that is something we are testing and we'll have a more formal date on that later. TJ,
Yep.
Go ahead
You're
on
right.
that.
Nope, you're right.
So anyways.
I want to add that I didn't know this, and then that's very exciting. And if that were to come, to pass, as I imagine it will after y'all iron out whatever, then we could, my wheels are rolling a little bit, we could let go of one of our other tools we pay for because we wouldn't need it, because we are using another platform to sort of hop on and talk to one another, as we're doing now. And if we could do it through Sydney, that would help.
Well, I do want to clarify, Barbara. So this doesn't take the place of a Zoom webinar like we're having like a screen share for conferencing.
Right.
This solution simply takes care of just doing a live recording in your classroom and then having that annotated space, and be able to tag the framework, things like that. So it's not a video web conference tool, but it is a lot. But it is the ability to take a live recording, and I think we'll probably do a happy hour on it over the summer with some of our key partners that have been testing it this last semester.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying, and you can add that wish to your wish list, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, anyways, so I think we're going to wind down a little bit early. Barb, is there anything that you would, any advice you would give to anybody that is just getting started with exploring video? Just general advice, just when if they're thinking about getting started, but they might think, my teachers really aren't maybe ready for this.
Yeah, I think it's a myth that you have to have a teacher who is operating, on full cylinders in every way before you would then introduce him or her to video. The use of the video can help them, get there. So we're using this with folks who are just super brand new, and but because of that, one thing that we try to do is to ease into it. Like, and y'all had us do this during the training, like, let's take a video of your classroom, walk around and just tell us about your classroom. And then now you've accomplished making a video. It's on point with, educational content, but it's not quite so personal yet. And we can look at that, and we can talk about that and tag that, and then move into, well, now let's watch you do something brief, and then now let's watch you do, half your lesson, and just sort of move forward in that way. And one other thing is that people tends to get a little nervous about new technology, but you can't break it. And as long as you just remember, like, if I take a video and it doesn't upload, okay. I mean, it's going to, but if I take a video and I didn't have the sound on, all right, we'll try again. I mean, it's going to, little things will happen, but you just keep plugging along, and having a really low stakes pilot really helped us.
Perfect.
Hey, Brian, we've got another question. It was in the Q&A section. It's from Robert Allen. Robert asks, Barbara, you mentioned Jim Knight. Were you trained to be a coach by him? I know if coaching needs to be individualized, then data may vary based on what the teacher needs. My question is, did your team create a sort of playbook of ideas for coaching? What was the systematic data your team gathered and focused on?
What a great question. And
yeah.
So, no, I'm not a trained Jim Knight video coach. I just play one on TV, I guess. I'm just pretending. But seriously, we did read the book, but what we found that was useful, and now I'm headed to the website, is we used this teacher video selfie, a self-guided module for analyzing videos of your own instruction out of the Center for Policy Research in Harvard, at Harvard, because it gives you like a real solid, like 5 question sort of approach to video, to analyzing your own video, and also therefore analyzing the video of someone else as well with a different perspective. And so we used that as a start. We also just allowed ourselves several weeks to just see what would happen, before feeling like we had to commit to, everybody sort of doing it the same way or everybody gathering the same stuff. We just played with it for a little while, and we're able to find some things out that were very helpful. But I do encourage you to check out this teacher video selfie. And then also there's some research here. Oh, I must have been hungry when I typed this. The best food forward. So it's the best foot forward research project findings, also out of Harvard, I think.
And I'm going to put a couple of links to some resources from that study into the chat if anybody wants to copy those as well.
Perfect. Well, folks, I think we're ready to. Let's see. Do we have any more things that we'll add in here, TJ? I want to give everybody just maybe a couple more seconds to get their last questions in before we wind down, and tell everybody have a great weekend. Maybe let's see. Maybe everybody could give me on a scale from 0 to 5 for how ready they are for summer break, if they would like. I know that I'm a 5 hot, ready for summer, ready to get out on the boat, ready to visit some of the other educators around the country that I've been working with. I owe our friends in Georgia a visit this summer. Barb, you have a small conference going on this summer, don't you, for your region?
Yes, well, we do a number of conferences, but we're excited about our August, I think it's August the 4th or the 5th. Sorry, I don't know. But Ruby Payne is coming, and she's going to kick off our Ed Fest, and she's going to do 2 1.5-hour sessions on her new book about emotional poverty as well as understanding poverty. So we're excited about that. You said, are we ready for summer break? I'm ready for summer, but I don't know what this break is that you were talking about, because those of us who support teachers and those of us who are teachers, we work all year long. So.
Well, the job is never done. That's for sure. So, well, Barbara, thank you for joining us today, and I hope you come back on let's do this again next school year. I hope you come back. Barbara, you come back on the show with me?
Yes, I've never been on a show, so yes.
Well, I'm going to have hopefully TJ lets me have a new TV show here at Sydney, and we'll do this. I'll have a TV show every couple of weeks for next year. That's my new New Year's or school year's resolution. TJ will probably hold me to it. Isn't that right, TJ? So, all right, everybody have a great weekend, and look forward to talking to you all, seeing you all out there soon. Thank you, Barbara, for coming on.
Sure. Bye-bye, y'all.